Welcome, everyone, to the Forging Indestructible Self-Discipline podcast. I'm glad you're here today because this is one of the most important topics we can discuss if we truly want to grow into stronger, more self-disciplined people. Today we're talking about relationships and specifically the influence that people around us have on our habits, mindset, standards, and direction in life. There is a saying that you're the average of your 5 closest friends. Another version says that if you want to see your future, just look closely at the people you spend the most time with. Most of us have heard those sayings before, but very few people stop and seriously think about what they mean. The people around us shape us far more than we usually realize. Human beings are social creatures. We absorb attitudes, behaviors, beliefs, and habits from the environment around us almost automatically. That influence can either strengthen our discipline or quietly destroy it over time. One of the uncomfortable truths about life is that not every relationship in our lives is healthy for us. Some people inspire growth, accountability, and maturity. Others encourage excuses, negativity, laziness, recklessness, or self-destructive behavior. The difficult part is that these negative influences are not always obvious. Sometimes they are entertaining, charismatic, or even people we deeply care about. That is what makes this topic so uncomfortable. Exercising self-discipline is not just about waking up early or going into the gym or sticking to a budget. It is also about having the courage to honestly evaluate the influence people have on your life. A positive relationship does not mean perfection. Nobody is perfect, and nobody has their life fully together. Positive people are not people who never struggle. They are people who encourage responsibility, growth, honesty, and accountability. They want to see you improve. They do not mock your goals or tempt you to abandon your standards every time things become inconvenient. Positive people may challenge you at times, but they challenge you because they care about your growth and not because they want to tear you down. Negative relationships often work in the opposite direction. These are the people who constantly encourage shortcuts, excuses, or destructive behavior. They may ridicule discipline because your growth reminds them of their own lack of effort. They may pressure you to waste time, abandon goals, or compromise your values just to fit in. Sometimes negative people are not openly hostile. They are simply stagnant. They have accepted mediocrity, and they unconsciously pull others toward the same mindset. If we're not careful, we slowly adapt ourselves to the standards of the people around us. One of the hardest parts of maturity is accepting that love and loyalty do not mean blind access to your life. You can care about someone and still recognize that they are unhealthy for your growth. That is an incredibly difficult lesson because many of us fear disappointing people or being viewed as judgmental. There is a difference between compassion and surrendering your future. Self-discipline requires boundaries. Sometimes those boundaries are emotional. Sometimes they are physical distance. Sometimes they simply mean spending less time absorbing negativity and more time around people who challenge you to become stronger. You should ask yourself some honest questions. Do the people around me encourage responsibility or excuses? Do they inspire growth or complacency? Do I leave interactions with them feeling motivated or emotionally drained? Are they helping me move closer to the person I want to become? Or are they keeping me trapped in old habits? Those are uncomfortable questions because they may force us to reevaluate relationships we have had for years. But growth often begins with uncomfortable honesty. Another important truth is that this principle works both ways. We also have to ask whether we are a positive influence on others. Are we encouraging self-discipline, integrity, and growth in the people around us? Or are we contributing to negativity and stagnation? It is easy to focus on what others bring into our lives while ignoring what we bring into theirs. Strong, disciplined people raise the standards of the environment around them. They create stability, accountability, and encouragement instead of chaos and excuses. The reality is that your environment matters. Your relationships matter. Your conversations matter. The people closest to you will influence your standards whether you realize it or not. If you surround yourself with people who constantly pursue growth, responsibility, and integrity, then over time those qualities begin shaping you as well. That does not happen overnight, but human beings naturally adapt to the expectations of the group around them. Building self-discipline is not only an internal battle. It is also about constructing an environment that supports the person you are trying to become. That means valuing relationships that sharpen your character and being willing to create distance from influence that weaken it. That process is not easy and it is not always painless. But if we are serious about becoming stronger, wiser, and more disciplined, then we cannot ignore the impact that relationships have on our lives. All right, that's all for today. I want to thank you for listening to Forging Indestructible Self-Discipline. Keep building yourself, one decision at a time. And remember that discipline is not just about controlling your habits. It is also about protecting your future from the influences that pull you away from who you are capable of becoming. See you next time.